Hello, welcome to episode 3 of Learn English with News. I'm here with my glorious co-host, Dan. Here you go.
Hello. How you doing? You all right?
Fantastic, thank you. Really, really good. This is take 2. We talked over ourselves a lot on the last one. So, yeah, things are great. How about for you?
Yeah, plodding along, doing all right.
Excellent.
Can't complain.
That's great. So if you've joined us for the first time in this podcast, what we do is we analyze the news and go through some vocabulary and pronunciation from these articles that we've picked out. There'll be 2 more serious, more global news articles, and there'll be 1 more fun local news articles from within the UK. And hopefully you can gain a lot from this session. Let's get into it. So the first one is about World Food Day 2024. I didn't even know there was a World Food Day. I would be well happy to know about that.
Yeah, some days, every day is food day, isn't it?
Every day Food Day. Yeah. 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 Now, right now, it's Diet Day. This one is obviously talking about World Food Day to make awareness for people who are struggling to get food. But
that makes more sense, yeah.
Yeah, not for us gluttonous people. But let's get into the article. Here we go. So, as World Food Day approaches on October 16th, 2024, the world's attention shifts once again to the escalating global hunger crisis. Despite producing enough food for everyone, the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, warns that hunger is resurging due to conflicts, climate change, and economic disruptions. A staggering 733 million people are now facing hunger, in an increase from recent years. This year's theme, Right to Foods for a Better Life and a Better Future, focuses on ensuring equitable access to diverse, nutritious, and safe diets for all. Okay,
good.
There we go. So let's get into the tricky words. The first one is actually a collocation. It's quite common one that you'll see within the news, to be honest. It's attention shifts. Dan?
So based on the article, it looks as though we're paying attention over here, and then we shift our attention to a new topic. So we're focusing on something new. So we're moving from focus A over to focus B.
Yeah. So probably a more a really real focus on it. Rather, I know you use focus many times. A real dedicated focus to it. So we are thinking about this. I think most people are thinking about these issues, but there's so much going on in the world. This isn't meaning that there is no focus on it at all. It's just that it's a dedicated focus to it, really, in this case. So as it says, the world's attention shifts once again to the escalating global hunger crisis. So we're paying attention to it. The next one is resurging. Dan?
Interesting. So resurge, you've got that re again, this prefix, meaning to happen again, like repeat or rewind, resurge. So if something surges, it rises, it increases. And if it's resurging, it's doing that again after it's been going down for a while.
Yes, exactly. So essentially an increase in some, but
after a down trend.
That's right. Yeah. Downward trend. That's a nice phrase as well. Yeah, that's right. So any example? Could it be put into anything else? Maybe like TV. We could use TV as a good example. So the TV program's ratings resurged for the climatic ending episode.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, and then we have staggering.
Staggering.
That's what when you're drunk, no?
Yeah, the staggering home, right? So to stagger, in this case, it means like incredibly surprising, or it's like a huge number that shocks you. It's staggering. Yeah. Staggering is basically another way of saying like it's shocked, basically.
Yeah.
It makes you feel shocked.
So the one I used earlier was more to do with a form of walking where you're not in control. In this version, we're talking about a big shock that happens. Yeah, exactly. So a staggering 733 million people are now facing hunger. It is quite a shocking statistic, to be honest.
Shocking, yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one, maybe a word that many people haven't heard, which is equitable.
So this comes from the word equal, right? And basically it means fair and in the middle, like impartial, fair and impartial. Everything's level, right? Equal, equitable.
Equal is essentially the word, isn't it? So, yeah, it's an important thing to do, especially on this matter. Of course, everyone should be allowed the right to have food, shouldn't they? So, having equal access, I think, is the key thing, as it states here. So, focuses on ensuring equitable access to diverse, nutritious, and safe diets for all. Safe diet's an important one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like it's all well and good having food, but if all you've got is something that makes you like sick, it's no good, is it?
100%. And a key word here, actually, many private students that I have, when we talk about the word diet, and people always think it refers to losing weight, but actually, no. Diet can be your balanced diet, can be your basic thing, the thing that you eat regularly. So you can have a bad diet, you can have a good diet. It doesn't necessarily mean or refer to losing weight.
No, exactly. Yeah, just diet is the food that you eat, basically.
100.
When we say diet for losing weight, what we mean is like a calorie controlled diet.
Yeah.
Something I obviously know a lot about. So
my calorie control diet is the McDonald's everyday diet.
The lack of control.
The lack of control. Yeah, that's completely right. Yeah. Unfortunately so. Okay, that's nice. Let's go on to some pronunciation. So pronunciation, I've got 6 nice words in here for us to look at. The first one is a couple of them quite long, but let's go through them. The first one is agriculture. Agriculture, more to do with the length of it. Culture's in there, so if you know culture, you should be okay with that one. And then the next one is organization. Organization. I've heard some people with the I in the middle try to say organization. Organization. Another one is economic. Economic. Be careful with that one because we have economy. Economic. So that starting sound is slightly different, even though they come from the same base word. The next one, you'd be surprised how many people say team here. Quite a few private students have said team. So I wanted to introduce it as theme. And have I gone too far is the question. Nope, this is good. Okay, so those are the ones from that paragraph. Oh, one more. Equitable.
One more.
Yep, equitable. Obviously, that's a new word for some people, maybe. But you've got quit in the middle, so that kind of helps you out a little bit if you know that word. Sometimes you can break down words to things you recognize, and I'd say 95% of the time it will help you. It is English, so it's never 100%. I always say there's no rule that's 100%. It feels like sometimes. So, yeah, that will help you out a bit. Let's go on to paragraph 2. So the FAO stresses that food is not only a basic human necessity, but also a legally recognized right. However, many countries continue to grapple with food insecurity, especially in regions like Chad, where conflicts and climate change have worsened the situation. Initiatives such as agricultural development and food markets aim to rebuild local food systems, but the scale of need remains immense. I love that last word.
I love the pressure you put on that last word. Like, yeah.
Just because I love that last word. It's such a nice word. I don't know why. Okay, let's some vocabulary from this one. Necessity.
So necessity is something that is necessary. It's like the noun version of necessary, basically. And it's something that is needed or essential. Food is a necessity for humans,
Good example. Yeah, food is a necessity for humans, 100%. So in here it states exactly that. So the FAO stresses that food is not only a basic human necessity, but also a right. And that's the word we're going to go on to now, right. The right.
So a right rather than right the direction, yeah?
Yes.
So a right is something that is like legally or morally entitled to. Like the law says I'm entitled to this thing, so it's my right to be able to have that thing. Like freedom is a general right that most people have in this world. Some people in this world have.
Yeah. So it's a should really. It's something we should have essentially, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, in certain circumstances, it doesn't work out that way for whatever reason, but it's something that we should have. And as we become more connected, I think we're connecting the dots on those things a little bit more throughout the
Mm,
world rather than, in the individual countries. But yeah, you're completely right. Something that we feel we should have, and food is one of those things for
mm,
sure. Food, shelter is another good example. Water,
mm.
shelter meaning where you live or having a roof over your head, as we would
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
And let's go to the next one, which is grapple.
Interesting word. Especially for us, we're a fan of the grapples. But grapple in this case is, I mean, it comes from wrestling, right? Like to wrestle with something, to grapple with something. It means to struggle, to try and deal with something.
Definitely
You
from
know,
the action, you'd assume, isn't it?
yeah. It's like if you think about wrestling, whether it's in the Olympics or in the WWF or whatever, WWE, sorry. It's like two people are fighting each other, they're grappling with each other, they're pushing and shoving and throwing each other, trying to win, right? And that's kind of what it comes from. It's like another way of saying struggle.
Yes.
Mm,
Okay, yeah. So this is a nice word actually that's been placed in. One tip we can probably give is that if you see a word that looks out of place like this, it's an action, really, isn't it? That
mm,
we associate with a physical movement. But in a lot of cases, if you apply what's happening in that situation to this
mm,
situation it's in, you can probably get the meaning from it, even though
mm,
you may never have seen it in that place. So, like you said, great example is where grappling, struggling with someone physically when they're wrestling, and then this
mm,
is like a mental struggle, really, or
mm,
an infrastructural struggle, a political
mm,
struggle, or something. So we can use grapple in these cases.
mm,
And the last one, and one of the reasons why I love this one, immense, is because we've got another meaning for it as well in British English.
mm.
That's immense.
So
Now,
immense means very, very big, basically, or very, very good, or, like a huge amount of something.
yeah.
Yeah. But what does it mean in British English too?
It means like it's essentially that, but great,
Yeah.
fantastic. So
So how was your week? Oh, it was immense.
it was like it sounds so grand, doesn't it? Though, like it
So,
sounds.
how was your week? It was immense. What did you do? I watched football on.
Yeah, exactly. It could be nothing really that you do, but yeah, immense.
Yeah, very funny.
But in this case, like we said, it means like something extremely large or great. And the scale, we talked about in the last episode. So if you want to find that out, you can get that from
Mm,
last episode or last episode's PDF that was in the description. There's also
mm,
one today in today's where we go over today's episode where we go over more of the article. They're normally quite long, maybe 3 paragraphs long or a little bit longer, and a lot more vocabulary we go over in there. So be sure to get it out. It's free. It's in the description. But yeah, in this case, the scale of the need remains immense. Obviously, there's a lot of people. This such a big thing we need to do to make a change in this situation. Like I said, 733 million people, which is crazy.
massive, isn't it? Mm.
It
It is
is,
immense. Yeah, that amount of people.
yeah, 100%. So, um, talking of this on this kind of topic, do you? I don't know what it's like in the north of England, but I live near Exeter, which is kind of a big city, and there were quite a few homeless people around
Mm.
town or selling big issue or things like this. Is there a lot in
Mm.
your towns in the north?
I was shocked last time I went back to Sheffield at
Yeah.
the increase in the amount of homeless people since obviously I left like 10 years ago or whatever. Last time I went, I was like, it's got out of hand a little bit. And it's sad because it's like, quote unquote, first world countries, like one of the richest populations in the world. And it's like, we've still got people sleeping rough on the streets. And it just makes you sad. And a lot of people blame the homeless person for their decisions, but it's a societal problem. It's not necessarily just an individual problem. And yeah, I don't think there's many McDonald's you can walk past in England without somebody sat outside it.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah, McDonald's, because obviously the food's quite cheap, I guess. That's
Mm,
one of the reasons why. But
mm,
yeah, you're right there, and the opening time, I guess. But you're right. It's in most cities you will find it. I think it's not.
mm,
I don't know how they manage it, to be honest,
Mm,
but it does feel like there's not a rehabilitation program or something along these lines. Like you say, some people do blame the people who did it, but
mm,
to them, they feel they did it to themselves. But even if that's the case, we should be able to help people to rehabilitate
mm,
themselves, like we do with people in prison. We do the same thing. So why
mm.
would you do it for someone who maybe has made a couple of mistakes or something?
And you know what though, these days, Stu, it's like you're just a couple of bad months away from missing a rent paycheck, missing a rent check, and then could be you. You know, like it's these days it seems like a scary, real thing that can happen to a lot of people. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, especially
never
in the UK. I don't feel
yeah.
it so much here, but in the UK, definitely. Like my parents
Mm,
were talking about the how much it's increased, and then going back.
mm.
I don't know about you, but the prices. I was shocked.
Unbelievable, wasn't it? Last time I went
Honestly,
home,
like it sounds like an old person complaining about
it was
stuff, but
staggering.
it was staggering. Like it's
Mm.
the prices have resurged. No, they're not.
They never went down. So,
Yeah, that's true. But
but
many people are grappling with the price.
wait. I think I couldn't believe I went to like Tesco or Asda or something, and I wanted some orange juice. I picked up a carton of orange juice. When I was last in England, that was like £1.50.
Yeah,
It was like £5.80, and I
uh,
was just like,
it's
"What
not.
has happened?"
It's really not a small check because people maybe they don't know, but maybe the pound is one of the strongest currencies in the world. So
Mm,
it's even if when you compare to the dollar, if you compare to the pound, it's even more expensive than you realize. So when
mm.
I'm comparing, like when I go want to go back and do a currency exchange,
It's not
if
like 2 to 1 a minute,
it,
roughly.
it's crazy. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Price is way high, and then
Mm,
that's not even going in. If I was living in England,
mm.
then I had to go to shopping, even earning money in England where I don't have to do any conversion, it's
Mm.
still ridiculously expensive. So
It's it's
it's a shock.
insane.
It's a shock.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah, 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 100%. Okay, let's go
Are we
through.
doing some shadowing?
Yes, and then
Mm,
we'll move on to the next one. So here we go. As World Food Day approaches on October 16th, 2024, the world's attention shifts once again to the escalating global hunger crisis. Despite producing enough food for everyone, the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, warns that hunger is resurging due to conflicts, climate change, and economic disruptions. A staggering 733 million people are now facing hunger, an increase from recent years. This year's theme, Right Foods for a Better Life and a Better Future, focuses on ensuring equitable access to diverse, nutritious, and safe diets for all. The FAO stresses that food is not only a basic human necessity, but also a legally recognized right. However, many countries continue to grapple with food insecurity, especially in regions like Chad, where conflicts and climate change have worsened the situation. Initiatives such as agricultural development and food markets aim to rebuild local food systems, but the scale of need remains immense.
Good work, mate. Very good.
Thank you very much. I tried my best. And
You always
now
do.
it's time for a different accent. Here we go, Dan. When you're ready.
As World Food Day approaches on October 16th, 2024, the world's attention shifts once again to the escalating global hunger crisis. Despite producing enough food for everyone, the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, warns that hunger is resurging due to conflicts, climate change, and economic disruptions. A staggering 733 million people are now facing hunger, an increase from recent years. This year's theme, Right to Foods for a Better Life and a Better Future, focuses on ensuring equitable access to diverse, nutritious, and safe diets for all. The FAO stresses that food is not only a basic human necessity, but also a legally recognized right. However, many countries continue to grapple with food insecurity, especially in regions like Chad, where conflicts and climate change have worsened the situation. Initiatives such as agricultural development and food markets aim to rebuild local food systems, but the scale of need remains immense.
Fantastic. There we go. So, a great opportunity for anyone who wants to practice shadowing with a southern or a northern accent. You get the opportunity to do both, or just practice your listening skills.
Hmm.
Now we can head on to our second article, which is
Hmm.
titled UN chief calls for Africa's rise.
Mm.
Okay, so this one, let's just get straight into it, shall we? Paragraph one. In a recent call to action, the UN Secretary General emphasized the crucial role Africa will be playing. Oh, I've added a word in there. Let's start again. In a recent call to action, the UN Secretary General emphasized the crucial role Africa will play in shaping the future of global governance. Speaking during high-level discussions, he urged the world to recognize Africa's rising influence and potential in addressing major global challenges such as climate change, economic development, and social inequalities. Okay.
Okay. Nice.
So, nice. It's not normal to read out loud, guys. So if you're practicing shadowing or reading aloud, if you make a mistake, add a word, just go back. It's fine. Just like me. Just then, yeah. Everyone does it.
Last time we read that last paragraph, my intonation was shocking. So
yeah,
we're not perfect either.
no one reads out loud, really. We practice in language, so I won't worry about it too much. So let's look at some phrases in here. I put again another quite nice collocation here, which is very common. Call to action.
So it's where you ask or instruct somebody to do something. You'll see it in social media all the time. At the end of their post, they'll be like, "Oh, leave a comment or follow for more." Or what they're doing is they're giving you an instruction what you should do next.
Subscribe to the video.
Exactly. Or get the PDF. It's down. This kind of stuff. Yeah. This is a call to action, but in this case, it's much more global.
Yeah.
Grand scheme of things. Yeah.
So we used it's kind of a little bit of insider terminology, really, for people who use social media to help others or build their presence online. And it's usually abbreviated to CTA.
That's right.
CTA, it's just call to action. Very, very, very common. And like Dan says, it's everywhere. So any kind
maybe you don't realize, but you'll see it all the time.
Yeah, you won't realize unless if you've never heard CTA or call to action, you'll never realize how widespread it is, to be honest. Anytime you press a button that asks you to go somewhere else, you're using a CTA. That is a CTA. For example, get the PDF in the description. So yeah, there we go. But that one will actually help you quite a lot. It's very high level, the things in the that's the word we're going to go on to next, the combination we're going to go on to next, high level.
So this is interesting because it's hyphenated. It's two words that have become a compound noun because they're hyphenated. And yeah, it basically means, I was going to define it by saying high level then, high importance or rank or quality or something top notch, if you like.
Nice phrase, that one. The top level, actually.
Yeah. So it's not like a basic thing. It's much more advanced or much higher quality.
Yes. So in this case, speaking during high-level discussions, it might refer to two things. It might refer to the importance of the discussion, or in this case, I think it's more leaning towards who is in the discussion.
Yeah, the rank of the people involved, right?
Yeah. So it wouldn't just be if we were to go back to McDonald's, for example, and they were making a big decision to do with a place, it would just be done between the manager and the team leaders, for example, by just the average part-time staff.
Not every Tom, Dick, and Harry gets involved.
Not every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Nice British phrase there. Meaning not just anyone can join.
Yeah.
Address. Are you going to give out your address?
Yeah. It's 123 Credibility Street. No, so address as a verb, to address, to talk about or to deal with or to focus on a problem or issue.
Yes, that's exactly. Also, we can use address like to address the class.
To talk to them.
Yeah. So he's really addressing a challenge. He's talking about the challenge essentially, but addressing a class would be beginning to speak in front of people. It can be quite confusing if you're say B1 or below. You may not have heard the verb form of address, so it can be a little bit confusing. But once you get it nailed down, you'll be okay. And then inequalities.
So we've got this word equal again.
Yes. It's back.
We've got a prefix, in, meaning the opposite. And so inequality is not equal or unfair in some way.
Yes. So again, another fix, like you said. If you've been watching, this is the third episode. We do go over a little bit of prefixes to give you a bit of more knowledge for those words that you've never seen before, but you can break down by seeing these prefixes or suffixes. In is a great example here. Yes. And if you know equal or equality, you should be okay from there, I guess. Okay. Nice. In terms of pronunciation for this paragraph, what have we got down here? So, secretary or secretary, which one do you use?
Secretary.
There we go. So there you might hear two varieties of this. It can be in the same country. I think we lean more towards secretary, no? Secretary.
Secretary, yeah.
Yeah. In the British Isles. But in America, you might hear it slightly different. So watch out for that one. The next one is also a bit to do with in American and British English. We've got during. We use this j sound in British English more so. In American, I like to hear during. Using the sounds as they should be done, I suppose.
The way it's written.
Yeah, the way it's written, exactly. And the next one is just because a lot of people get raise and rise. So this one is rising. Okay. Raise always has an A. Okay. So just watch out for those. Again, definitions are a little different as well. So please check them out if you're struggling with that. Yes. And that's it for this paragraph, I believe. Oh, one more. Sorry. Again, another error. Major, especially for my Spanish speakers out there. J. It's not y, it's j. Okay, so major. Watch out for that. And also the R sound at the end. We are using British English, so major. Major. Yeah, so watch out. Okay.
Cool.
Paragraph 2. Here we go. He advocated for Africa's inclusion in international decision-making platforms, highlighting the continent's role in solving global crises. This appeal coincided with Africa's growing representation in organizations such as the G20 and BRICS. He stressed that empowering African nations politically and economically is key to fostering global cooperation and peace. Okay. So let's have a look at this paragraph's tricky words. Inclusion.
Okay, so inclusion, coming from the word include. So the act of including people or groups or whatever, to include somebody, the form is inclusion.
Yes, spot on. To include. Yeah, exactly that. If you know include, you can probably have a good guess on this. It's got half the word. So he advocated. Advocate we had in the last session as well. Last episode, didn't we? He advocated for Africa's inclusion in international decision-making platforms. So they should be included in the discussions, which is right, really.
Fair enough, yeah.
Coincide.
Coincide. The two things to happen simultaneously or at the same time. Yeah. So event A happened just by chance at the same time as B. Well, sometimes it's planned, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's completely right. An example would be my birthday coincided with the World Cup final.
Cool.
Yeah, for example. That my birthday never does, but for example.
Worth a try.
Yeah. Give me the presents, guys. To stress.
Okay.
Because I don't want to get talking about your personal life
again. Like, can't help it, can you?
Stress, yes.
So to stress rather than to feel stress. To stress something is to place emphasis or importance on it. Yeah, to give extra attention to it. And word stress is a big thing in English.
I was about to say, I wonder if people can connect between the two, or have connected, I should say, between the two of the word stress, like putting emphasis on a part of a word, specific vowel sound, and then stress in this way, or whether they just connect, because it does look like the adjective because it says stressed. If it's he's stressed, that
Like he
he
feels.
is, then that,
Mm,
that does change it. But here, he's stressed, meaning that
mm.
he is putting emphasis on this thing.
On
So
this topic, yeah.
stress that empowering African nations politically and economically is key to fostering global cooperation and peace.
Mm.
Okay, nice.
And so foster was an interesting word.
Foster as well, yeah. Foster.
Mm. So that one's got a couple of meanings. Most people probably know the word foster as in to adopt a child or something like that.
Yes,
But in
exactly.
this case, to foster, it kind of similar, like to encourage the development of something.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are when you
Like,
foster, when you adopt or foster, do foster care for a child. You're trying to
mm,
help them develop, aren't you? So
we're here trying to foster the listeners' English growth. So
exactly,
there we go.
exactly that. That's what it's all about here.
So
Um,
yeah, good one.
that is a nice one as well. Yeah, to foster global
Mm.
cooperation peace. Yeah. Okay, let's do a read through, and then let's have a little chat. So here we go. We're going to go through the shadowing portion again, southern and then northern accent. So let's see how we go with this. In a recent call to action, the UN Secretary General emphasized the crucial role Africa will play in shaping the future of global governance. Speaking during high level discussions, he urged the world to recognize Africa's rising influence and potential in addressing major global challenges such as climate change, economic development, and social inequalities. He advocated for Africa's inclusion in international decision making platforms, highlighting the continent's role in solving global crises. This appeal coincided with Africa's growing representation in organizations such as the G20 and BRICS. He stressed that empowering African nations politically and economically is key to fostering global cooperation and peace. And
Cool.
that's that. I just want to mention that also we did talk about in episode one about this. I said BRICS. I didn't say BRICS for the abbreviation.
Mm.
So again, if you know if it's common used as maybe a name instead of the abbreviation, obviously BRICS,
Mm.
Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa.
It's like
Uh,
NASA, right? Nobody says NASA. We say NASA. Yeah.
Same as in the first episode, yeah. So watch out for that. There will be links, and we'll keep calling back to them to help you remember that these things happen. Dan, your turn. Let's roll.
So, in a recent call to action, the UN Secretary General emphasized the crucial role Africa will play in shaping the future of global governance. Speaking during high-level discussions, he urged the world to recognize Africa's rising influence and potential in addressing major global challenges such as climate change, economic development, and social inequalities. He advocated for Africa's inclusion in the international decision-making platforms, highlighting the continent's role in solving global crises. This appeal coincided with Africa's growing representation in organizations such as the G20 and BRICS. He stressed that empowering African nations politically and economically is the key to fostering global cooperation and peace.
There we go. Nice. This is
Hmm.
excellent. Oh, I think this is pretty much something that should happen.
Good thing. Yeah, I can't see what's wrong with it. Like, it seems logically a good step. So,
It's always good to have more people at the table, don't you think?
hmm, hmm.
In this case, especially because we're talking about world decisions.
Yeah, I mean, like, it shouldn't be a small group of people that decide for everyone as much as possible. It should be everyone's got a seat at the table, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely so. And
Hmm.
we have not walked in each other's shoes, so
But we don't know.
especially places where they're so different. Like you said, uh, maybe most of Europe is first world, and then Africa has quite a range of different types of
Hmm.
countries who are going through their own issues or own development, should I say?
Hmm. They're
So,
grappling with their own
yeah,
issues.
I think sometimes it's easy to forget once you get to a certain stage what it was like where you began. So
Sure.
I think it's good to when aiding people in development also to see where they're at because we can learn from the things that maybe we've
Hmm.
gone past already.
Sure. And it's interesting because this BRICS, as we mentioned, it's the first time I've actually ever seen that acronym.
Really?
Yeah, I've never seen
I'm
that
not
acronym before.
really. So no, it's been really common over the last 2 years. I'd say probably about two
Mm.
years is when I saw it for the first time.
Mm.
Like I said in the previous episode, I've been watching a lot of the American. election stuff. So this comes up,
Ah, okay, fair enough.
it's not included in America. So I think they're a little concerned.
So they're on the outside looking in for a change.
Yeah. But they are
Uh,
growing, growing nations that are developing their own infrastructure and ecosystem within their own countries.
mm,
If you think, I think there was some ridiculous stat that was like X amount of call centers in the world are based in India. I can't remember the exact stat,
mm,
but it's like a high percentage.
mm,
So a lot of the work is being outsourced.
mm.
Some of these
Even
countries.
like I used to work for British Telecom, and all their call centers were outsourced to India.
Yeah, so
And I understand why. It makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, I don't see any issue with it. The only issue actually that could come about from those kind of situations is the lack of nuance that people would know. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's the only real issue. But yeah, I think in general, it obviously all makes sense. People are trying
Mm.
to support their business in different ways, and people are trying to get jobs. So yeah, it's the way the world goes now.
Put
Obviously,
two and two together there.
yeah,
Therefore.
100%. All of these countries are growing economically as well. So
Mm.
I think they're trying to support each other in some way, shape, or form.
Mm.
And it's
Yeah,
interesting
makes sense.
that NATO is not included pretty much.
Well, I think everything kind of runs through like the big stuff, like, NATO and G20 and all this stuff. And it's like sometimes you need something outside of the main system. Because if the main system is all the same,
Always,
mm,
always need to have an
so
outside. You can't have if as soon as you get into that like cluster where it's just one group, it's just
mm,
what we call yes men essentially. Everyone's
mm,
going to agree with each other, and then there's no development after that because
sure.
you need that. Yeah,
Mm.
that
So yeah, it's like
someone.
counter,
That's the word.
I don't know, counter group or whatever. So
Counter argument, at least. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
group's not probably the best collocation, but sure.
that's like someone. Yeah. Well, we don't know what's going to happen in the world. Maybe. Okay,
Anyway,
this is nice. So there's a two stories for today. They're a bit more lighter than last week's one.
I mean, last week we were a bit heavy, weren't it? Like,
Yeah, they were heavy, but these are a little lighter, a bit more positive. Both of them, I think. Well, the first one more building to positive futures, and then the second
mm,
one as well. So let's go on to something really,
my favorite bit of this
really
podcast.
out of the loop, which many people wouldn't have heard this story. But this is the kind of local news we do get in the UK. And this one,
Mm,
this time, is from my neck of the woods, but from the place where I was born. So not from Devon this time. This time it's from Essex, and this is from the Basildon, Canvey, and Southend Echo. What a great name! I love
what's
these.
it? Run that by me again. Basildon.
One minute, I also need to read it. Basildon, Canvey Island, meaning
Mm.
Basildon, Canvey, and South Echo.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
So the height of journalism coming in strong here.
is.
Is it a free newspaper, by the way? Just asking.
I don't think so. No,
Oh,
no.
bloody hell, you have to pay for it.
It might be. I don't know, to be honest with you. It's not exactly from my area where I was born, but
Mm,
in the county anyway.
mm, okay.
But this one, yeah, like we said before, always this one will have more simple language and especially with the articles that I'm picking out for this third one. It's for a bit of fun at the end, and a bit more Britishness to it. So with the wording. So this is what we're going to look through. So today's title is Huge Pile of Rubbish Blocks Road After Bang. International incident.
Oh, geez. All right.
So I'll run through it and then let's pick apart some of these phrases.
Hmm.
A huge pile of rubbish has blocked a road in South Essex after residents heard a loud bang. Pictures of the scene show a large pile of bins, bags, and rubbish in Friar. I can't even.
Brian? I don't know.
Frian Gardens, even for me, that's tricky. Frian Gardens, Wickford, at around 10:30 a.m. this morning. According to witnesses, a refuse vehicle was seen emptying the load into the road after what residents described as an explosion noise. One resident who wished to remain anonymous added it was the black bin refuse vehicle. It was a very loud noise, which could have been some form of explosion. The vehicle stopped and emptied the load in the roadway. One fire engine attended the site, and eventually the refuse vehicle returned to the council yard. Okay, big news, big news. Watch out, everyone. It's blocked road. No, I think they fixed it, so no need to worry anymore.
Jeez.
I laughed it halfway through. I'm going to get onto that in a bit. Let's go through some British isms. There's quite a few in this one, I think. A couple of them.
Okay.
So, a huge pile of rubbish. What is this?
So rubbish being the British term for garbage. Stuff you throw away. So a large heap or collection of waste material.
That's it. Nice. And then,
or your favorite football team if they lose at the weekend.
What are you saying? QPR, they've been losing a lot recently again.
Well,
I'm thinking I have to transfer to Plymouth Argyle.
Give them a chance, yeah.
they're not doing well. But anyway, they are a bit rubbish. Scene. I think scene because it's an interesting way to use scene. We might think if you know the word scene, if you do, scene you might reflect as doing something to do with films or TV.
Like a theatre performance or something like scene 1, scene 2 or something. Yeah. But maybe if you're a fan of like the crime scene investigation kind of stuff, maybe you can picture this. The pictures of the scene, it's almost implying like a crime scene or, some crazy place where this amazing event has occurred. It's so unusual and important to the Basildon area or whatever it was. That pictures of the scene makes it sound very legal, like it's going to be presented in the court of law or something. Yeah. I think that's what they're doing. They're trying to make it sound more serious.
Of course, yeah. Shows a large pile, we've got pile again, of bins.
Okay. So a waste container. A trash can, as an American might say. A bin, it's somewhere where you throw your rubbish away, isn't it?
That's it, exactly. And I thought it's interesting, the next word that I picked up, refuse vehicle. I always rubbish truck or garbage truck.
Yeah, bin truck or bin lorry, I reckon. Bin lorry. Anyway, so this is one of those wonderful words in English. We've got refuse and refuse. And, one's a noun, one's a verb, and the stress changes depending on which one you mean. So, like, he refused the refuse is a perfectly logical sentence in English. So, in this case, refuse is another way of saying rubbish, trash, garbage.
Yes, Paul.
Yeah. So, it's the vehicle that takes it's a bin lorry. Let's be fair, it's a bin lorry.
It's a bin lorry. Bear with me 1 second. Sorry.
No worries. I'll hold down the fort. So we've got a refuse vehicle, which was seen emptying the load into the road. So, and that's rhymes. I like that. Load into the road. Sounds good. Next, we've got this word anonymous. Now, anonymous is not just a weird hacking group that, hacks the internet or whatever. Anonymous is also a way of saying without name or identity. So Stu has just run off to deal with an anonymous problem.
Yeah, I did. Someone was me. Getting in. They were interfering in my business. No, it's just a parcel arrived.
Yeah.
But anonymous, I laughed at this because one resident who wished to remain anonymous. Why do you want to be anonymous? I mean, it's
how many people are there?
Story. Yeah, not like that serious. It's just that it sounds like to me. Like it implies that the person was involved in the situation, like they driving the truck or something.
An anonymous person who happened to be wearing the uniform.
Yeah. And last one is load. Load is so many meanings, really.
Yeah, as into your computer loads when you turn it on. Well, I covered this a little bit when you ran away because earlier we had load in the road, which is kind of a fun turn of phrase. But a large quantity of something that is being carried or transported. Yeah.
You could load the dishwasher.
Yeah. Or do a load of washing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice one.
And I love the last sentence in this. One fire engine attended the site, and eventually the refuse vehicle returned to the council. It sounds like the end of an episode of Thomas the Tank Engine.
It does sound like that.
It's like, oh, and after all the hard trouble, Percy returned back to the train yard, and the fat controller said good night.
Go on,
So that's kind of what that last sentence. It felt like a Thomas the Tank Engine story wrapping up.
If you didn't know, anybody out there,
Who doesn't know Thomas? Surely everybody knows Thomas.
But the early, maybe the first, I can't remember, 5 to 8 seasons were all narrated by Beatles.
So Ringo Starr.
That's like one of my favorite facts. I used to love that show when I was a kid as well. And then he's got perfect voice for it, but it is a little boring, drony voice, really. Isn't it? But it's perfect.
And I bet other day, completely off tangent. I know it's not a podcast about Thomas the Tank Engine, but I saw one of the trains near here was decorated like Thomas the Tank Engine train, but he's like some CGI animated nonsense now. Like back in my day,
what's the actual?
We had real trains, real muggles.
It was a model railway, wasn't it? They used.
Yeah.
And that was.
Imagine the production being a nightmare, but.
Mate, it wouldn't be as bad as making like Wallace and Gromit or something like that.
Oh my God, can only imagine.
He does that properly. He does it with clay. It must be clay, I guess.
Oh, some polymer or something, yeah. But anyway, we're not here to talk about kids' TV shows.
Let's go and finish off with a quiz. So to check to see what words you, if you remembered any of the words, and if not, no worries. Remember the PDF is in the description, so you can always grab it whenever you want. But a little quiz, 3 questions to test your knowledge. So please fill in the gap for each of these. We'll give you 5 seconds to answer. We'll also tell you what potential answers there are. Here we go. After months of decline, the company's profits began to in the 3rd quarter of the year. Potential answers are attend, resurge, witness, and extinguish. What do you think? We'll give you 5 seconds. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer is resurge. Second question. The government is working to reduce economic between the rich and the poor. Could it be bin, inequality, explosion, or skip? Give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is inequality. The government is working to reduce economic inequality between the rich and the poor. And the third one should be the easiest one because that was the most recent words that we went over. The police quickly arrived at the of the accident to investigate what had happened. And the potential answers are site, load, resident, or scene. 5 seconds. Here we go. And the answer is scene. The police quickly arrived at the scene of the accident to investigate what had happened. Okay, that is it, guys, for this episode. There will be another one next week. Thank you very much for joining us. And for me, it's ciao, ciao.
See you.
Bye-bye.